accidents just happen all the time in Carroll County. I'm just saying. It's a very, very unlucky place to live. They dropped the charges because it was accidental. You don't accidentally run over somebody and back up and try to do it again. Let's start from the beginning as investigative reporters, right? So you would ask the questions who, what, where, when, and why. Should be easy, right? Of course it is. Yes, I know, you're innocent until proven guilty, but what good does that do you if you are not alive? Hello, my silky friends. Yeah, I know there's not a whole lot of people watching, and I know why, because you are, hello, Samantha. Um, I know you are all in, you're all in Teresa's in criminalities live, and I get it. I was in there too, and finally I thought I've got to do this because this is literally the only day I have um, at all this week to go live. I don't see me squeezing it in with my work schedule this week. But anyway, how are you doing? I hope everybody is safe from the storms. Can you hear me and see me okay? Evie Mux did not want to load tonight. I don't know. It may be very sketch. Okay, if you notice in the top uh, left-hand corner, you're going to see Tea and Cess Cakes, Silky Southern's Diner. And I know you're wondering, what is that about? Well, let me tell you, because the other day I was on CJ's live, and we were talking about Kohberger, and I was talking about, how different things, you add different elements to make something. And hello, Adjusted Fate. Trump's alias is too. Interesting. Okay, good. Hey, Carol, how are you doing? Hope you had a good holiday. Hope you're safe. But anyway, I was talking about making, a case, making something, and I said, all this is sus together. And I said, you just mix all these ingredients and you make a big sus cake. So it took off. The chat took off from there. And so, yeah, that's what that's about. We're making sus cakes. Uh, served hot. I don't know. CJ made this for me, and so I love it. I have to use it. Actually, I've got some really cute ideas to do with that. So yeah, we're making sus cakes tonight. Um, and like I said, hope everybody's safe from the storms. We're going to talk about a lot of things. I didn't put it on my original thumbnail, but I'm going to throw Delphi in there for just a second, okay? Because I realized I did not address something that's big. And, people have been talking for weeks about the leaks. Okay, whatever. I could go off on that. They've been talking about the leaks, and here's the thing. At first, I didn't talk about the leaks because I knew so little about it. And that quickly changed. And then I knew so much about it that I was like, oh dear God. All right. Y'all know how Delphi is. It is a treacherous community. I've said that over and over. And here's the thing. Yeah, sus cake. Yes. Have some sus cake. We had a whole thing about that. Delphi is so treacherous right now. And, I want to tell you, don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see, okay? And that is the God's honest truth. It is crazy. And I will tell you this, do I think that it was a mass leak like they're saying? Eh, I don't know. I will tell you this, what I do know. I'm not going to name names. I don't do that. Someone emailed me the other day and asked me to tell them about certain things. I will not name names. But I will say, most everyone. Okay, look. You wanna go back? Let me just say this in code for you. Do you want to know where it started? Um, Go back to the first podcast that ever mentioned someone, and you can start there. Uh, and then you also have to add in some creators who I know, uh, who had conversations and even friendships, people whose names have not come up, and I'm not going to be the one to bring them up. I don't, y'all know, I don't dox. I try to keep it classy, okay? As classy as I can, being as mad as I am sometimes. I will not let you know who, but there was another creator out of the Delphi. And it's not the first two that everybody heard. You hear the podcast one, and then you hear the other guy, and we all know what happened with that. I'm not. This was neither one of those. Okay, so I know there was at least one or two other creators who were involved with people who were responsible for the leaks. So I'm just going to say I was kind of disappointed in some people. But you know what? I've learned with Delphi, don't be surprised about anything, okay? Because it is what it is, you know? Hello, Sandy D. How you doing? You're right, Adjusted Fate. Delphi has too many gatekeepers. That is frustrating even to try to follow anymore. Yeah, it is. And some of the gatekeepers are not what they seem to be either. So there you go. I don't know why. What is it about true crime that brings out criminals? They want to. You want me to start naming names? No, I'm not. But I can tell you this: there's a lot of criminals in this community as well. And we'll just leave it at that. If they didn't start out as criminals, they are criminals now. I don't want to be one of those people. And I really, if there's anything that you want to say about Delphi, I'm not talking about it because, look, there's nothing to say except throwing people under the bus. And I don't do that. That's not ever what this channel's been about. So, that being said, I will be trying to, on the 18th, I will be streaming live. I know everybody, like every creator, is going to be streaming live that day. I realize that. But I'm going to be one of those creators. Also, I want to hear if I can find a good link. Cross your fingers that the weather's good because God only knows. Have y'all ever seen such stuff? It's ridiculous. But okay, Carol says the Oracle of Delphi in ancient times was a bunch of witches, yes, that lived in a cave and took turns playing the role. I think the folks in Delphi conjured up that ancient malevolence. Absolutely. I think they took, like, that was the blueprint, maybe. I don't know what's going on in my kitchen. I hope y'all can't hear that. Somebody must be in there. Either that or it's exploding. Who knows? But yeah, Carol, you're right. I think that was the blueprint for what's going on right now. Too many dishonest people not wanting the truth and happy to accept the unacceptable. Yes. And I have a video or two. I probably it's just right here right now. It's a concept. I've written it down, and I'm like, I really need to do a video on this and that, but it's it's here's the thing. I don't want to talk about Delphi. Yes, do I get the most views off my Delphi videos? Absolutely. And you know, but hey, you can't talk about Delphi forever. And honestly, right now, there is nothing going on until the Supreme Court makes a decision. And then, it will either, one of two things, it will either change nothing. Look, my monitor's going nuts. It's flipping on and off. So that's why I get dark for a second, y'all. It's like possessed. Um, Either nothing is going to change, it's going to stay the way it is, or everything is going to change again. We don't know. That's why I want to live stream that. I want to be one of the first to know. So, uh, other than that, let's see. It's possible, talking about the Oracle, maybe in Wilson's Cave. Hey, you know what? I'm not familiar with where Wilson's Cave is, but it would not surprise me at all. None of it. Uh, I mean, who was surprised Gold was given the promotion? Yeah, I started to do a video about that, but I feel like at some point it's just kind of grifting, it was a 5 minute video. That's all you really could have said about it. Yeah, she got promoted. If you didn't know, she got promoted. So, I'm like, is that a good sign or a bad sign? I mean, but on one hand, is she going to say, now that she has new duties, that she is too busy to, be the judge in this case? Because we all know it's going to be a 3-ring circus. Is that her out? Did they give her that? Or was that a sign of them saying, yeah, we're, heads up, we support you in all your decisions? I hope, uh, I hope it's not. I hope everything will be done in fairness. Again, not saying Richard Allen is innocent or guilty, but saying that due process is important. Uh, yeah, so there you go. Uh, Four Pits confirmed it, but it's one of those things no one will elaborate on, nor is there any info on the web about it. Are we talking about her promotion? What are we talking about, Sandy? Uh, but yeah, so there are some other things that are very important to talk about. And some of the things I had not read about Epstein. Now, if you want to keep going with Delphi, we will. Oh, Wilson Cave. I'll have to ask Four Pits about that. Uh, Four Pits knows a lot of stuff. Um, Here's the thing. There's a lot more going on than Delphi. And if you want to keep your sanity like I do, we want to talk about some other things. And, if you've got something to say, whatever, you can email me, you can put it in the comments on the live. I'll be glad to address anything. But once again, let me reiterate, I am not going to, say what I know. Uh, it's probably dangerous, but it's not just that. It's, there's no class in that, okay? It will all come out in the wash. You know what they say? It'll all come out in the wash. Then you'll know. Then you can make comments on it, and I'll comment on your comments. Okay, Holly Bobo case. It has a similar narrative as Delphi. Where was that at? Was it in Indiana or was it somewhere else? I will have to look into that. Look, there's so many cases, so many cases. But there are some things that I wanted to share with you about some other things. Epstein, he's everywhere. And I mean, who's really shocked? Some of the names, yeah, they come out and we're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this and that. And like in my last video, it says some people are, uh, some people are shocked, but I'm not. Like, if you have been looking around the holes in the internet, I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't talk. Internet over the past since 2016, you could have found copies of those flight logs. So I'm not shocked at anything. I forgot, honestly, how many people are on there. And some people I didn't know at the time. It was just a name. But yeah. Okay, back to Holly Bobo. It was in a county just south of me, like 20 minutes away. Oh, in Tennessee on the 13th date. Yeah, there's a lot about the 13th. And I tried to look that up really in the very beginning because not only is Delphi on the 13th, but also the Idaho 4 is on the 13th. And then there were several other suspicious similarities to the Idaho thing that were also on the 13th of the month, uh, different months. And it's very sus, right? Why the 13th? Um, there was also that case in Pennsylvania. Uh, Gosh, it was a long time ago, but remember the guy that was like kind of like a Rambo-ish type person? His whole fiasco started between the 12th and 13th at around midnight. So yeah, it's like, why do all these people want to commit crimes on the 13th? I don't know. Okay, and Holly went missing April 11th. Oh man, there's some good information in here, Sandy D. Missing on the 11th with date of unaliving. What's that? On the 13th. Another 13th day was Amber Hagerman. I'm gonna have to look all this up. Uh, yeah, that is crazy. That is crazy. I don't know what. I don't know why the 13th. Does anybody have an idea? I mean, if it were ritualistic, I could understand. But we're assuming that possibly Delphi was, but we're assuming that the rest of them aren't. So why the 13th? Very odd. Also, you know, as far as the Odinism goes, we're all jumped on that bandwagon, and then we kind of all jumped off, and now I'm kind of like, not Odinism strictly, but I think that there's very likely some kind of elements of some kind of ritual. Okay, there's just things that you can't, and let me tell you why I think that. All right, and I'm going to go back to something that Carol said. Don't let me forget that. The reason I say that is strictly because if it was easily disproved, if in the beginning they looked at it and they saw these, non-secular things, and then I would say, okay, they looked at it, they really looked into it, and they said this really has nothing to do with it. Then why be so secretive about the Purdue professor? Why say something different in the affidavit? Why, did Nick email and say, hey, we don't know who this professor was, but he basically cleared everybody. He said it wasn't Odinism. Okay, just critical thinking here, it would have been so much easier to disprove this, in my opinion, if you had from the very beginning said, yeah, we seriously thought that was it. Like, we looked into it, we ran all this down, and we talked to these people, and then we realized, you know what, it really wasn't. It was just made to look that way. It has nothing to do with Odinism. Be out there, don't be secretive. That's a sus cake, y'all. That's another ingredient. You see what I'm saying? And to me, the whole thing would have died down if you had just been above board. Now, the fact that you weren't makes me wonder, is there some element or a lot of elements of truth to that? I've talked about many a time, I've talked about some of these things are not only odinistic, but can also be Masonic and or some other things. So, yeah. Okay, Carol said, I think the interurban tunnel system, which has an access point under the bridge, is probably how the crimes went undetected. I've heard that over and over, and I have not, like, look, it's kind of like an urban legend. Well, first of all, we know the tunnel's there. There's no doubt that there is a tunnel, but that it's blocked up. Is it, would it be easy for somebody to have hope? I mean, yeah. To me, it's like, we know the tunnels exist. And unlike in some other cases where you don't have any verification that the tunnels exist, then you're like, I don't know, right? But this one, they're actually there. So let's see. Let's see. Okay, are we talking about Amber? I'm going to have to go back and read your comments about this other case. Uh, Adjusted face fate is talking about. Are we talking about Holly or are we talking about Amber here? Thought she had OD'd. Okay. All right, 1996. Okay, I'm going to look into that. Interesting. Very interesting. Now, let's talk about the infamous Epstein. Again, shocker at the names, but there are some things that we all know. We all know he didn't unalive himself. Remember, there was a hashtag about that forever. Yeah, he didn't do it. He did not do it to himself. But in the last video I did about Epstein, they were talking about how, if you didn't see that one, his brother was asking for medical records from the EMS, from the hospital, from the prison, whatever. He's trying to figure out what happened to his brother, and lo and behold, everybody said, "Oh my, oopsie, there are no records." Really? Just like there were no guards there watching, the camera went out at this. Come on. What kind of fools do we didn't fall off the turnip truck yesterday? Come on. We all knew. We all knew when they put that cock and bull story out there that that's what it was. We all knew he was unalived. But I did find an article that I wanted to share with you. Let me get over there because, oh my gosh. Wait. This is not what I want to share with you. Not right now. Let's go. Why is this still showing up? Let me show you this. Since we're talking about the infamous, are y'all seeing this? No, it's stuck on that one. Why is it stuck on that one? Okay. Oh, I see. Operator error. Imagine that. Okay, let's talk about. We are going to get to that one though. That was really concerning for me. All right, I found this. Y'all are not going to be shocked, but I thought it was very interesting because I hadn't heard this news before. Former President Bill Clinton is alleged to have entered the Vanity Fair newsroom. Y'all know Vanity Fair is a huge magazine, and issued threats to prevent the publication of stories relating to the accusations. Y'all can read that against his associate Jeffrey Epstein. This claim was disclosed in recently unsealed court documents associated with the Epstein case. The allegation was made by the accuser, Virginia Giuffre. How do you say that? Giuffre? I think. I've heard it a million times. Why can't I remember? Anyway, during a 2011 email exchange with Daily Mail journalist uh, Sharon Churcher, the New York Post reported. All right, so we know Gouffre. Is that how you say it, Gouffre? We all have seen her pictures. We all know her story. If you don't, she was, very much underage and dragged into all this. She's the one that you see, the blonde headed girl that you infamously see with Prince Andrew, you know, Bill Clinton, all that. But I thought it was very interesting. And this is really just a side note. Um, about how he went into Vanity Fair and just, threw a hissy fit about about this information coming out. I mean, come on. If you didn't look guilty before, what do you think that does? Oh, Billy, Slick Willie. Remember, we all called him Slick Willie. Um, let's see. Again, oh, I did find this interesting. Stephen Hawking was on that list. Anyway, it's somewhere in here. It talks about how the Clinton Foundation actually gave them some uh, money, whatever. Hillary wrote a check out of the Clinton Foundation. If y'all don't know about that, that was the biggest bunch of uh, trafficking mess I've ever seen. Um, let me see here. Let's be honest about these logs. What do they really prove? The real dirt happened at the Upper East Side mansion given to Epstein by the founder of Victoria's Secret / Abercrombie. Yeah, that's the thing. That is the thing here. Somebody asked, and it's in one of these articles. Hello, Megan Z. Uh, yeah, somebody asked in one of these articles, about Jeffrey Epstein. They're like, okay, what did he do for a living? Where did he get his money? And like, you know what? Nobody knows. There's no answer to that question. So I mean, come on. There you go. Let me show you this one though. Let's see. Google search. I'm putting this up here so when I go back to watch it, I can look at all of this too. Trump lawsuit 2016, Jane Doe. Okay. All right. We'll see. We'll see what's going on there. Um, let me see now. Oh, okay. Carol's got a comment. When I started my human activism here in Palm Beach back in 2006, I met some of Epstein's cronies while working property management. Wow. They made some veiled threats to back down or else. Wow. I'm not surprised, Carol. There, you were right in the thick of things in Palm Beach. Keep saying I want to have you back on, and I do. You just let me know. Uh, there were several things I wanted to talk about, but your time in Palm Beach, I don't know. You might be in enough trouble, so maybe we don't want to go there. Uh, yeah, Epstein was a financier, but of what? Of what? Um, an article. This is back to that other. Okay, Epstein was a spy. What? I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. Come on. He kind of had his fingers in everything. And that's the thing in monies and property. Yeah, that was, I don't know. The thing of it is, he seemed to be, uh, yeah, financier of blackmail. Yeah, that seemed to be, and that's exactly what I was going to say. A lot of people on those flight logs, that's the thing. They weren't always just necessarily, okay. I don't know, they weren't necessarily guilty of everything that, just guilty by association, okay. um they were a lot of times blackmailed. you know some people may have gone there thinking they were going on vacation, or it was, out of partying. I don't know what they thought they were doing. But a lot of them maybe that didn't participate in some of the underage stuff, and the zoom of people. I don't know how you say that on YouTube, but they were there. And you get somebody a little bit intoxicated, or you just have someone stand beside people. And they said actually that Jeffrey Epstein used to do that a lot at parties, and places where there were celebrities and stuff. He would go and stand beside them, say, hey, let's take a picture with them, so it looked like they were buddies. And especially if you accepted an invitation to go to the island, a lot of times you would have incriminating, photos or videos, which is, by the way, the same thing that the Freemasons do to keep you in their grasp. If you haven't seen my million videos on the Freemasons and their tactics, that is one of the things they do also, because when you get to a certain level, they need your silence. And so you are coerced into being silent, because if you haven't actually done anything wrong, it certainly is going to look like it to your friends and family. And so you will be completely blacklisted, maybe divorced, whatever. And that is also what happened to some people on Epstein Island. Now, I'm going to say, Bill Clinton, if you went 50 times, I think you knew what you were doing. Are we shocked? Oh my, I can't believe it. A former president. Yeah. Uh, let's see. Adjusted Fate said his job was arranging precarious situations to entrap the rich, well-connected politicians, Hollywood, etc. Yeah, it was. That was his job. So I think he really was a uh, financier of certain things. His mansions were wired for sound and video used to blackmail these people. Yeah, that was the whole thing. So if you had anything to do with him, you were often caught up in this whole thing, so you couldn't talk. So let's go back to this interesting article, though, about his unaliving. I've really got to change this picture. I think I like stuck that up there as a thumbnail for something. I had to put something in there. So I don't know. It's so bad. But let me go to this article if I can. Come on, internet. Let's do something. All right. Now, let me get this one on here for you. May have to. Let me see if I can adjust this one a little bit. So we can not have all this other stuff in there. There's that better, maybe. Okay. All right. I'm not gonna be able to see your comments for just a second, because I'm gonna be on here. Okay, so are y'all familiar with the old movie The Godfather? Like Carlo in the car in The Godfather, Epstein's brother tells Tucker pathologist says it doesn't look like self-unaliving. Can you imagine if The Godfather had to use YouTube words? It could be a Disney movie. Yeah, we have to be careful. But there are some very interesting things in here. Earlier in the week, we saw Jeffrey Epstein's brother Mark explained to Tucker Carlson how he struggled to obtain basic documents related to his brother's unaliving in federal custody. As the identity of Jeffrey's various associates is released this week, it is clear from the eliteness of this list of alleged creeps that many people stood to benefit from Epstein's perpetual silence. Of course, they did. So they're questioning the records, but we're going to get into the autopsy, okay? I wish I had the actual autopsy. One day, you know, when everybody's gone, they'll give us that. But anyway, here were some of the. Oh, okay, yeah. What did he do for a living? On whose behalf? We don't know. The second question is, where did all the money come from? Hundreds of millions of dollars that passed through his hands over many years. And where is it now? That's a good question. Where is it now? We don't know. Probably went back to the foundations it came from. And the third question, maybe the most pressing of all, which is, what happened to Jeffrey Epstein? Well, all right. You can see, let's see. Is this I don't know if this is an actual cell. It could be. It looks pretty much like ours. Uh, okay. Mark criticizes the handling of his brother's body, the unavailability of key records, and the apparent lack of a thorough investigation by the Department of Justice. Oh, again, I am shocked and appalled. The autopsy showed, this is interesting, the autopsy showed that he was unalive for at least 2 hours before he was found. What? 2 hours. Okay. All right. Let me say something here. Uh 2 hours. What this? Oh, yeah. YouTube's probably gonna flag me for some of these pictures too. Um, how on God's earth are you laying there for 2 hours? Okay. Remember, I work in a jail, not a prison, but I work in a jail, and I already know, like, when you are on that kind of watch that he was, and so high profile, he was in protective custody, of course he was. um he still had a roommate, but and yes, anything can happen. But how are you that high profile, on cameras, unalive for 2 hours before anybody notices? Come on. How stupid do you think I am? Or that the American people are? So at that point, they're supposed to leave the body and call the medical examiner's offices so they can come take photographs, do the initial testing, whatever they do when they find a body. But that wasn't done. Wow. Mama. Well, why not? Epstein then details a peculiar circumstances found in the autopsy report, which doesn't align with a typical vertical unaliving. Y'all can see the words. I can't say it. You know? Um, well, after the autopsy and the both pathologists, listen to this, the city pathologist, Dr. Baden, came out of the autopsy and said, this doesn't look like a self-unaliving. It looks more like a perpetrated red rum. Okay? Specifically, he highlights the broken neck bones, more consistent with that kind of passing away, or a physical attack rather than a vertical red rum. Uh, Mark also points out the absence of expected physical signs on the body if it had been hanging for an extended period, further casting doubt on the self-unaliving narrative. Okay, you can see. Sorry if these should have had a trigger warning here. I'm sorry. Like, I'm new to trigger warnings. I forget all the time. I guess because I don't get triggered very often because I see stuff all the time. But the autopsy photographs show that I don't know if I can say ligature mark. I guess I just did. On Jeff's neck is in the middle of his neck and goes straight back as if someone put a rope around his neck and, like Carlo in The Godfather in the car, remember? He puts the cord, pulls. That's what they're saying. Dr. Baden is saying that's what it looked like, not like a, okay? These details, combined with the lack of transparency, imagine that, from authorities, fuel his belief that his brother was red-runged. What, you didn't know that in 2019? Uh, Probably did, but couldn't prove it. Tucker clarified the bones in his neck that were broken are not seen. Not seen. Not rarely seen. The wording is, it's not like they're rarely seen in this type of passing away. They are not seen. Did y'all get that? Not. But are seen in a different kind. All right. Epstein confirmed and responded, that's a scary thought that you can be passed away in prison by the government. Because again, my life would have been a lot easier if he did unalive himself. Well, of course it would have been. And the fact that it can be done by the government, oh, that's shocking, right? I guess I'm really shocked that they're actually putting this part out there, though, because it's been hush hush since 2019. Like, you can't get any information except royal BS about, oh, the cameras went out. Oh, it was just one of those things. Gosh, what terrible timing. Whatever. I could have put it behind me. This is his brother talking. But it's obvious at this point in time that it was not a self, And so that means somebody unalived him. Who did that and why? Well, who? You've seen the flight logs. It could be any one of those people. Anyone. But if you remember in my last video on Epstein, I was reading you the article where the was it a senator or it was somebody from, I can't even remember. It was a government official that said that basically he, they kept this hush hush because his colleagues, meaning government officials, would all be likely involved in those. So, I mean, there we go. I mean, the list of people that could have wanted to unalive him is just almost endless, okay? A good question, to which we will likely never know, as Mark concludes. Well, when I heard Barr's statement that he said he personally saw the videotape and he concluded it was a self-unaliving because nobody went in or out, that's when it hit me that he's covering this up. Now, that is very sus, and I couldn't say, all right? I don't know Bill Barr. I don't know. Some people say he's a good guy. Some people say he's not. Whatever. Now, let me just say this. If the tape was not on, just playing devil's advocate here to balance both sides, could Bill Barr have said, I didn't see anything? But if the tape was not running as they said it wasn't, that there was a glitch, whatever, in the system, then he wouldn't have said it, and that makes his statement truthful. However, what do we just learn about the government officials all involved in this stuff? Carlson finishes by pointing out that it appears officials at the highest levels were lying about the circumstances surrounding Epstein's demise. His brother agrees and wants the truth. People should be aware of that. Whether we ever figure out exactly what happened, I don't know. But yeah, I don't want people to think that he unalived himself, because that is not the case. Well, we know that. We know that. But now we've seen, Dr. Baden actually say that. So what happened? Let's keep reading. So why did they not take what Dr. Baden said and run with that? Well, there is a reason. Let's keep going. Um, and there you go. Let me copy this real quick. And when I get back down into, let me see what I'm doing. When I get back down into chat, I'll put the link for this article up there in case you want to read it or go to some of these other links that are on here. For example, the medical examiner, the city pathologist, and another doctor who performed the autopsy did not rule it a unaliving of self. Because, of course, it didn't look like that. The death certificate says cause of death pending investigation. The unaliving ruling was made by the chief pathologist, Barbara Sampson, who was not present at the autopsy. Well, okay. All right. So the self-unaliving ruling was made by the chief pathologist who wasn't even there. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So the death certificate says it's pending investigation. Clearly, Dr. Baden had his doubts and said, this is not what this looks like. Oh, but the chief pathologist who wasn't there, it's like, oh yeah, this is what it was. You know, can you smell the green stuff? Can you smell the money here? Or the influence or whatever. Maybe it wasn't actual dollars. Uh, that's my opinion. It is allegedly. At the point the determination was made, all further investigation was halted. Barbara Sampson won't talk to Mark Epstein or Tucker. Imagine that. Sampson's ruling overruled that of the actual pathologist who performed the autopsy. She justified this by saying there had been a previous attempt. However, there was no attempt prior to his demise. Mark Epstein references an interview with Jeffrey's attorney, David Schoen, in which the attorney stated that Jeffrey had actually been attacked by his cellmate. Well, now that happens, but did not want to report it as such. The media reported it as an attempt at unaliving. Now, let me tell you, cellmates, yes, especially with the charges, okay? In my opinion, he should have been in isolation, okay? He wasn't in there that long, all right? He wasn't there so long that it was, you know, that detrimental to his mental health. And I'm sure he had some perks, which he did. You're going to see that in just a minute. Things that would not go on, in our jail. All right. So Schoen describes this as an incident that began as an experiment between Jeffrey and the cellmate. That's I don't even know. Y'all, I'm just gonna say this. I know how these inmates are. I know they're experimenting with, but I'm just saying. I probably don't want to know. I don't know. A former cop, that was his cellmate. His cellmate is a former cop. God. All right, in which Jeffrey felt pressure to allow the cellmate to place something around his neck. The cellmate then pulled on it and injured Jeffrey. Whatever this was, it doesn't sound like an unaliving attempt by self. Well, no. Jeffrey Epstein passed away a few days before a hearing on an appeal for his bond. In other words, there was still a chance he could have bailed out of jail awaiting trial. Man, there would have been a huge outcry about that. But, things like that have happened. Attorney General Bill Barr claimed he had reviewed the tapes of the only entrance/exit to the cell block where Epstein was being held, saw no one enter or exit, so he believed it was what they said. However, there were several, 7 to 14, that's a lot of several, other people who were already in that cell block. Mark has been unable to determine, really, with that many people, uh, who the other prisoners were other than the one who was Jeffrey's cellmate. Mark has been told the tapes do not exist. They probably do exist, and they're probably blackmailing somebody else. I'm just saying. The ligature marks look more like those left from an electrical cord, possibly from his CPAP machine, rather than a fabric such as a bed sheet. Okay, if you don't know, you probably do know what a CPAP machine is, but if you don't, it is an apparatus people wear that forces air. If you have, like, you stop breathing, you have sleep apnea, you stop breathing, wake yourself up, or you just have little bits of not breathing for whatever reason, and then it disturbs your sleep cycle. That's why people have all these sleep studies. A lot of people use these CPAPs. My mom used to have one, so I'm very familiar, and a lot of my patients have had them. Now, the CPAP does, plug into the wall, so it does have an electrical cord. This shocked me that he was able to have his CPAP machine um, in a situation like this, because, oh my God, you're in jail. How do you get electrical cords? Like, what kind of fancy, situation you were you in? I mean, I don't know. Maybe they do that if it's federal, prison. Maybe they do, but man, that's a disaster waiting to happen right there. Um, okay, so the tapes don't exist. It could have been from his CPAP. Again, a body that has been in that position, up and down, for 2 hours should show bruising from the blood pooling in the legs and buttocks due to gravity. That is absolutely true. When you pass away, your blood pools. If you're sitting up in a chair and if you have a heart attack or something like that and you pass away, your feet and legs are going to be like black, purple, that kind of stuff, because all the blood rushes down there. So, yes, if he was actually in that position, like they said, for 2 hours, apparently not on the camera and nobody watching, we're not watching him. Whatever. This is ludicrous. It's so ludicrous. But the autopsy indicates none of this. Okay, so they're saying that there wasn't blood pooling in his legs and bottom. So, yeah, absolutely. All of these things, I think that's about it for that one. Um, all of these things go to show exactly that nothing was as they said it was, according to the autopsy. Let me see what you're saying. Um, I mean, I honestly couldn't believe that information was out and that they were, admitting. Somebody's talking about, the pathologist that performed the autopsy is not the one that signed off on the cause of death. So I'm shocked that, again, that's even news. I guess maybe they're thinking that after uh, all these years, they can let some out. Maybe they're hoping it'll just kind of go under the radar, because really what everybody is looking for is the list. We want to see the list. I don't. I don't care. Um, I don't respect any of these people anyway. I'm not going to be shocked at anybody from the government or Hollywood or whatever. It's not going to shock me. They might as well have all been on that plane. Uh, but I think maybe this is just hypothetically, this is just me thinking. I don't think they would have released this information or done these interviews or whatever, allowed this to go in public, if people weren't looking at, the red herring over here. Everybody's like, oh, the list. And then you can scoot that news up under it and say, hey, by the way, we can pretty much prove he didn't unalive himself. Well, of course he did. Uh, but that's just my thought, because I have never seen anything like this come out before. Um, let's see. Let me see what you're saying. Silky. This is from Adjusted Fate. Side note on that 2016 article, that incident took place in Epstein's Upper East Side mansion. Okay, I will definitely be looking at that. Carol says, well, Lord have mercy. There must have been a line around the block of people who wanted a piece of him. He ruined a lot of lives. Yeah. He was, I mean, honestly, one of the most disgusting humans that I've, read about. Um, and I didn't pull this article up, but there is another one. I have it in my email. It is about Prince Andrew. Again, I didn't include it because, you know what? We're not shocked. We're not shocked. But basically, it's saying that we already knew that it is kind of humorous. Maybe I should have pulled it up. We all knew that Prince Andrew had been to that island many times and was a friend of Epstein, blah, blah, blah. He's been kind of looked down on, I guess you could say, by the royal family, and they've been trying to distance him themselves from him. And I mean, that whole royal family, like, what? It's just been all kind of stuff in the last few years. But anyway, they okay. Are y'all still hearing and seeing me? Because I'm getting some, I'm getting some notices up here about my bandwidth. I don't know if that has to do with the weather because my provider just checked it out today. Okay, I don't know. I guess I'm stopping maybe. It can't be that. Okay. Anyway, yeah, the Prince Andrew, they're saying that there was a lot more stuff in his in this the information that's come out in the files that have not been released or whatever, that he was way more involved than initially thought. And so, basically what was irritating about this article is they were saying, well, the British police are like, yeah, well, we're not going to do anything about it. Basically, is what they're saying. We're not looking further into this. So obviously they already know. But what was interesting is King Charles did say something about his lease coming up on the house that he's at. He's like, yeah, he's going to have to be moving out of there. Um, of course, there are some other scandals with the royal family, so I'm not even going to go into that. I think Andrew is not the only problem in there. Adjusted Fate says, sorry, says, I don't trust a word Bill Barr says. Look how he shut down the Russia investigation. Yeah, there's that. Um, Look, there's a lot of people that you think are going to be okay, and then I don't know, they're all crooked. Um, yeah, he was going to expose, or he could have exposed a lot of monsters for what they really are. Absolutely, absolutely. I don't think they wanted him once they really put the finger on him. I don't think they wanted him out of jail. I don't think he would have gotten bail. I don't think that, definitely don't think he unalived himself, but I think he had so much. I think they were afraid. Everybody was afraid for him to talk because if he got in a desperate situation, and he started telling the truth and the details. Okay, it's one thing for us to know that there was, this illegal trafficking going on and that there were underage people. Like, we get that. We already knew that. And that's bad enough. But then if you were to hear the details of some of these people, it would make you even more sick, even more mad. And they didn't want that coming out. Okay, I'm glad that you're still seeing me. I don't know what I'm glad I'm showing up somewhere. I keep getting all these terrible messages. Um, bar sucks. Megan say bar sucks. Change my mind. I can't change your mind on that one. I'm not even going to attempt to. So yeah, uh, Epstein's usefulness was washed up. He had to go just am I saying that right? Just Lane's father? Yeah. Uh Hello, David Rogers. Silky, everyone attached to this had to know the consequences of hanging out with an elitist pervert. Oh, I probably shouldn't have said that. I'm in trouble. Like Epstein. Whatever. This is really weird, though. I'm telling you, I had, it wasn't even this bad. The trouble I had the other day, it wasn't raining. It wasn't doing anything outside. Everything was fine. I've done, tons of videos, tons of lives. But when I started talking about Epstein the other day, I had all kinds it was so glitchy, that video, and I hate it, and I'm sorry, and the quality is bad. And then, I had some problems when there was bad weather. And then I did a video for a live for my other channel just a few hours ago, and no problems whatsoever. And I'm talking about Epstein again, and I keep getting these red and yellow flashing messages. Like, basically, you need to stop, your bandwidth is not. So, I don't know. If you're seeing me, again, I'm, maybe I'm just full of it. But is it because YouTube knows I'm talking about Epstein? Who knows? YouTube gets mad at me all the time for the stuff I talk about. Yes. Oh, that's a good point, Samantha. The elites couldn't chance him testifying in court because then it becomes public record. Yes, you're right. It's not just a he said, she said. Um uh let's see. Adrenochrome. I know what that is. I know what that is. I'm gonna highlight this, and let me say this. Look at that word, the one, that one that I almost said but didn't say. Uh, a lot of people say it's not whatever. I don't know how it's manufactured or how you get it nowadays. I know that a lot of people are interested in it. However, I will tell you this. If you just don't have to know, don't go down that rabbit hole, okay? You will never recover. I mean, you could potentially get PTSD from following that rabbit hole. I know what it is, and let me say that has been going on for thousands of years. It's just a different way of doing it or packaging it or whatever. Now, and y'all who know. And if you don't know, I would highly suggest don't ask. Don't ask. You don't want to know. Um, Carol says people in South Florida look at children like, oh, yeah, at a restaurant. I'm appalled at how many women are complicit with it. Really? Huh. Now that does surprise me. Um, yeah, we could we could talk about that, Carol. There's a lot I would like to know, and I am afraid. I know what happens. I know what happens when we talk. I know what happens to my channel, but I want to tell you something. I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about is that years down the road, somebody comes across your story or something that we've talked about and it helps, okay? I'm not worried about clicks and views and whether entities like me or not. Uh, it'd be nice because I'd like to get the word out there, but somebody somewhere will come across this stuff. Yeah, as a matter of fact, you're right, Samantha. There were a lot of elites showing their age once Epstein got busted. Yeah, I don't know. Did you need is if you were watching what was going on back at that time? You know exactly. Also, truly, uh, in 2020, remember if y'all were watching the videos in 2020 when everybody was in lockdown, you couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't do anything. That is when, and you see these videos and you think it's just the celebrities, they're there at home without their makeup and all that, which I know that has a lot to do with it. God knows I need mine. But some of them were quite horrifying, and it wasn't just makeup, wink, wink, y'all that know. Um, uh, oh my gosh, research the Isle. Okay, I didn't even read that one. Let me put back up there again. Research the Isle of Jersey if you want to know how the richest of the rich in the world play. I will do that. David Rogers says, I'm sorry, Silky, but this is truly the only forum to bring this out. Oh, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. Um, I I don't want to ever make somebody feel like they can't say something. I just wanted to give a trigger, like a canon trigger. Like, don't look that up unless you want to be horrified beyond what you can bear. Okay. But for those of you who are brave enough, and I don't even want to say that because it doesn't mean that you're a coward if you don't look it up. Sometimes it just means you want to keep some sanity. But if you are someone who has to know, don't say that you weren't warned. It is a horrible thing. Um, let's see. Did any of you watch the bombshell interview with Club Shay Shay on Club Shay Shay with Cat Williams? I did not. I haven't even heard. He broke the dang internet with the truth. Really? Huh. Okay. I'm definitely gonna have to look that up. You know. Um, because of my past and stuff that I've talked about in videos before. Um, I look up things like this because I already know. I already know it's not new information. It just lets me know that everything that I already know is true. Does that make sense? I'm not making sense here. 100% powerful people can sure look rough one day to the next. Yeah, there's a reason for that, isn't there? Um, I don't think I can handle knowing more than I already do. Yeah, Samantha, if you don't, then don't do it. I just found out 2 days ago that I'm going to be a great grand. Aw, and I mean to be a great one by prison or casket. No regrets. I will protect. Yeah, I get you. I get you. Um, it is. Yes, congratulations. Very much, Samantha. And you're right, David. It is a very, very evil world. Um, let me see. How long have we been going? Okay, we're still good for a little while. Uh, and if you want to, I mean, look, anything that you want to talk about, if there's a subject that you don't feel like David said, if you don't think you can bring it out on any other forum, please email me, Silky and Southern. It's also on my YouTube on the About page, Silky and Southern at Gmail. Or I do have a Discord. Look, it's been like crickets in there for the past month on purpose from me. I have not been putting anything in there for multiple reasons. But also, you can comment below. Tell me something you want to talk about. Uh, Carol says here in Palm Beach, the women go along to get along, so Daddy keeps paying the bills. I get. I mean, I know people do that. I don't get it. I don't. I I can't. I can't with that. But I mean, everybody makes their own choices. Uh, I'm just not that kind of person that can deal. All right. Um, One more thing. Yeah, this Epstein thing is the more information that comes out, in my opinion, it's like I said, I'm not studying the list or making comments about the people on the list because plenty of people are doing that. I'm trying to find the information that is not being screamed from the rooftops. And this one to me, not that it shocked me, okay? This article about the autopsy did not shock me because in my gut, I already knew, as I'm sure y'all did, what really happened there, or a vague idea of what really happened. But the fact that they are naming the doctors' names and the chief pathologist's names, now we know who these people are. And the fact that that is coming out in public is great. And again, I think it's because nobody's looking for that information. They're not looking for how it happened, just his list. So I love it. I love when I can dig up information that I've wanted to know for years. Um, yeah, you're right. Believe it or not, in the United States, we've been insulated from the world media wise, and when you go digging, it's mind blowing. Yeah, so let me tell you, let me tell you a little bit of some tricks you can do. First of all, I would try a browser that's not Google or Chrome. I would try a browser like Brave. Um, there are things. It is functional. It does what it's supposed to do. It's not it's not as pleasant to look at. People used to say DuckDuckGo, and I tried that a few times, but I I didn't find as much on there. And then I heard other people saying no, it was kind of limited here. Another thing, did you know you can do this? You can set your internet, especially if you have a VPN, and I highly suggest you have a VPN. But you can set your there's videos on this because I couldn't tell you how to do it. But you can set your computer and your VPN to show that you are from another country. As a matter of fact, some people do this because, like, on Netflix and stuff like that, if Netflix thinks it goes through the VPN that says that you're from Australia, whatever, you have different choices that we have to pay for here in the US if we want to watch them. So, like, you can change this around. Um, so you can look up some videos on that. Also, you can, if you are on a browser, your browser thinks you're looking from another country, you can get by with finding stuff there. You're not gonna find this stuff on Chrome, probably never gonna be there. So this is why the reason that you're here, the reason that I'm here, and we're everywhere else is because we know the mainstream media is not telling us the truth. Sometimes it's not even close to the truth. Other times it's partial truth, but not the whole thing that we need to know. So this is how we all ended up here on YouTube, right? We don't believe the narrative, whether we're talking about Idaho or Delphi or Epstein, whatever. We don't fully buy into the narrative that people are cramming down our throat. And so here we go. This is why we're here. And because of that, we're also looking at alternative media forms. And I will say this, like, you got to be careful because there's a lot of, woo woos out there. There's a lot of, as CJ says, nutballs. They're everywhere. Um, and you have to look and always vet what you're researching because uh, yeah, Megan. DuckDuckGo sold out. Yeah, that was my conclusion. Actually, a couple of years ago, I can't remember when I stopped using it. Um, but yeah, Brave is a good one. All right. So if you're looking for stuff I told you not to look for, um, actually, you're probably gonna have to go. I don't know. I haven't looked that up on Brave, but you're probably gonna have to go deeper into once you find the spot where you can get this information. Um, yeah, it'll come flooding in. Uh, really? Carol said, if I had $1 for every time I get called something in public for my activism, I'd have had $200. It's really brutal. Uh, yeah. Look, I can't believe that's the word they'd use, though. Oh, wow. Um, Hi, Linda Kay. Adjusted Fate said, when 2020 went true crime, we lost our national investigative journalism that told us about government corruption and the like. Yeah, I think we lost it a long time ago, actually. Uh, you know, you keep thinking, you keep thinking that it was just a few years ago. And then, we look back. I know I used to look back at times when I was a little kid and like the 70s and 80s, and then you think, well, back then it was good. Back then they told us the truth, and then you start looking and say, no, when have they told us the truth? Never. I don't care if it's 1900. They haven't told us the truth in so long that they don't even know how to tell the truth. All right, it's been propaganda for way longer than I've been alive. And you know it's hard because we look back and we think there used to be a time when you could trust the media. No, sorry. Are there truthful people out there in the mix? Of course there are, but you have to dig around for them. Let's see what David is saying. How many folks believe that Epstein did himself? I haven't seen one poll regarding that, but I bet more than half would answer no, and he is still alive in the witness protection program. That was actually a very, very common belief amongst a lot. And I'm not saying it's not possible. Right after, and again, this is on one of those alternate search engines, or was it a quote from 4chan or whatever? There was a report that I read. Of course, we don't know. It could be somebody just typing nonsense. But there was a person, we assume it was a guy, that wrote a paragraph or two saying that he saw uh, a different body there, and that he saw Epstein be put into the back of an ambulance alive and taken out of the prison. So, I think it was an ambulance. I don't know. Did anybody read that? I looked at it and I thought, I don't know if this person is full of crap or not, but I can certainly see that happening. That is, you know, uh, yeah, Samantha. I think that we lost a lot of rights back then, but it goes back uh, so far. Let's see. I heard recently someone close to his situation say we will be hearing from Jeffrey himself very soon, whatever that means. Well, I hope he's still alive then, because otherwise, I'm going to be channeling his conversations on my other ghost channel. That's very interesting, though. hope, I hope that he is alive and willing to talk. Yeah, that would be great. I think he really will be unalived if that happens, for sure. Linda Kay, you've been at the beach. It's so hot. Oh yeah, because we're opposite. It's not here. It's cold. It's what we say in Alabama is it's colder than a frog's butt in a frozen pond. Well, it's not that bad right now. It's just cold. In a few days, it's going to be that. Uh, yeah. Uh, they take hearts. There's a lot of there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, and I've done some videos. I'm not even done. Oh my god, I should have. I'm going to do a whole video about the missing. I mean, the people. Did you hear that? We throw this in here right before we hit on Kohberger. Um, but did you hear about the Mississippi prison where they found like 215 or something bodies buried behind the prison? Um, just like in body bags, shallow graves. They don't know. These people have been here. We don't even know. They just have numbers, like little poles with numbers. I have a lot of questions about that. It is appalling, and you really can't find a whole lot of news on it. Can find some people on the internet, on YouTube, talking about it, because God forbid mainstream media give us in-depth information. But we know how that is. You're right, Samantha. It goes back to the beginning of this country itself. That's why the poor weren't educated. You're right. They didn't want to educate the poor. However, we as a country started with basic rights. This country will fall from within. It sure will. It sure will if we don't have divine intervention or an awakening of backbone in this country. And you could be right, Megan. We could have fallen too far. Certainly would not be shocked to be judged for our behavior. Anyway, all right, I'm going to touch a little bit on Bryan Kohberger because I know I haven't. I started out in the very beginning, the day he was arrested, like the biggest video I ever did, like the most views I ever got on a video on this channel, I think was like 7 or 8 thousand views. I got them, boom, boom, boom. I made a video, and I wasn't even really doing stuff like this then. The day that Kohberger got arrested with some information, and I didn't even have it presented very well, of the things about who he was and his work at Washington, and maybe I should have stayed with Kohberger, but I didn't. I fell down the Delphi rabbit hole, and you know what happens when you fall down the Delphi rabbit hole? You end up in Wonderland, where nothing is as it seems. So anyway, oh, I had a cool little light here. Hold on. No wonder. Oh, my dog was over here messing with it. No wonder. I don't even know what's going on. Okay, it's going to mess with me. All right, but I did want to say some things because I was asking, CJ and I do a lot of shows together. We plan to do more, and he has been on Idaho this whole year, unlike me, who now has blue dots on my face. I don't know. But I had asked him if they had ever debunked this because there are some things, and again, here we are, same train. I thought when they arrested Kohberger, I was convinced 100% that he was the perpetrator, and I don't know if he is. There certainly seems to be some compelling reasons. I'll say this: there's a lot more compelling reasons for Kohberger to be guilty than Richard Allen. Not to say either one is guilty or innocent. But then there are a lot of things as I look into it. Y'all, if you're not horrified at touch DNA and AI and things like this, you should be horrified. when you go into what touch DNA means, literally any of us could be arrested for a crime that we weren't even there. Touch DNA literally is you touch something, you're at Walmart, you touch something. Let's just say you're at Walmart and you touch a butcher knife, right? Because you're gonna buy one. You need a new knife to cut the pizza, whatever. And so you touch it, you handle it, and you're like, nah, I'm not gonna buy this one. Somebody else buys it, does something horrendous with it, gets arrested. Guess whose DNA is still on that knife? You know? So when you're talking about, if you didn't know, if you're not deep into this case, what they found on the knife sheath in the apartment or the house at King Road was 20 cells, 20 touch DNA cells, 20 cells. That's tiny. That is tiny. And there are 3 other male DNAs that have been found in the house that they have not matched to anybody, nor have they done all this stuff. You know, I'll probably get into that at some time. However, what's horrifying about this is that he might really not be guilty. And if something like a touch DNA can give you the death penalty, because I think that's the biggest evidence they seem to have. They don't have a motive, all right? They have, well, maybe he was an incel. Maybe he was a stalker. Maybe he, was just, fixated on one of these people. Like there's a lot of things. There's a lot of ifs. You know, there's ifs and buts. And what's the old saying say? How's it go? If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, would all have a wonderful Christmas? Yeah. Well, right here we're looking at ifs and buts. We don't have a definitive. If Kohberger had a history, like let's say he had gotten arrested or he had gotten something, he had gotten caught looking in a window. If someone had, if he had a record saying, harassment, if somebody had brought in charge of harassment or whatever in the past, then you'd say, well, yeah, there's a clear cut motive here. The problem is there's not. Kind of like Richard Allen, there's just not. So what are you supposed to do with a big bunch of nothing? And certainly I can see from certain aspects of Kohberger how he could potentially be. It's not big, okay? There's nothing big about this, but there are some potential things that do look a little sus. In my opinion, a lot more sus than Richard Allen in the Delphi case. So, you can't disregard everything, but I am going to say, if you want to talk about it and you want to talk about the IgG report, you want to talk about how they built that DNA and some other things that have gone on with DNA, like, look, that is a whole discussion. If you are interested, comment on this and let me know, because it's it's just a big ball of mess is what it is. And it's terrifying, not just because, you don't know if you have the right person, but it could happen to you or me any day, anytime. Um, let's see. Let me keep going here. I got so far behind. Let me see what y'all are saying. Yeah, y'all are getting into some. Yeah, y'all are getting into some interesting things. And let me just tell you, I keep an open mind about everything. Okay. Some of the things y'all are talking about, I have entertained. Like, I wish somebody had, could prove some of this stuff to me, but I don't know. To me, it doesn't even matter, if that makes sense. I have reasons for that. Um, Okay, Samantha says, when your car can legally steal information from your phone and you can have it used in court against you, it's getting scary. Next, it will be, yes. Next will be the smart fridges spying on us. I know, remember when we had dumb TVs and dumb phones and we didn't have cell phones and then we had dumb cars? Like, it is scary. Um, back, I think it was like in 2011 when I was still married to my ex-husband. It was a long story, but I had a lot of time at home, okay, for a while. And so, I started getting on YouTube then, and I started seeing all this stuff about how your TV is spying on you and your phone and all this stuff. And I was horrified. Watched many videos explaining how this worked. And I told him, you know, oh my God, did you know that the TV can, like, it can work as a camera? Like, they can see into it. And I was telling him this stuff. And I mean, oh my God, he went nuts. He thought I was crazy. He called me Jesse Ventura. Said, you're nothing but a conspiracy theorist. That whole thing there, that even the term conspiracy theorist, we can get into where that came from. But I was like, no, I believe this stuff. I really do. Well, now as time passed, sometimes he'll text me and call me and say, or send me an article saying, did you know this? I'm like, yeah, this is what I told you 10 plus years ago. And you called me crazy. But now we all know. We all know that your phone is spying on you. If you don't believe it, just talk about something ridiculous that you would never say, and then see how many ads you get for it. You know, it's crazy. And so there you go. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I like my smart stuff. It makes my life easier. But yeah, you're safer if you've got dumb stuff, like just dumb. Silky, have you ever wondered if this case could be a? I'm not sure what you're talking about, Megan. I got the dumb right now. I'm not. I'm not. All right. Or you can Discord me if you don't want to talk about it. You can Discord me. Um, because I'm not sure. I think I've thought about everything about this case. I There are some things I think that people have ruled out. I haven't. I haven't ruled out a lot of stuff in this case. We're in the first Moscow. We're the first in Moscow, like they were in Delphi. Uh, I'm not, why am I not getting what y'all are saying? I need to just go to bed. I don't get it. All of a sudden, I has the stupid. Okay. Uh, let's see. It's okay. Hello, hit the like button, people. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chevy Killer. Please do hit the like button. I know. I had a lot of competition tonight, and that's fine. I just hope people watch this later on. Um, I was going to talk. Let's see. We've been going for about an hour and a half. I do want to say one thing. Like, look, y'all are really talking about Kohberger. That's good. That's good. That gives us something else to talk about, too. Um, Mostly in Kohberger's case, I want to talk about some of this evidence and how they got there that's so alarming. Um, let's see. Uh, Interesting. Linda Kay, the FBI were in Delphi a couple of days before the girls went missing, investigating RL's property being used for gun training by Odinist for what? Being used for gun training by Odinist for terroristic purposes. I knew the FBI was there. I did know that. But the story I heard was, a bunch of, again, it was I read it and I'm like, yeah, well, that's what I said earlier. It's a cock and bull story. Uh, but whatever. I'm probably going to get in a lot of trouble for saying that word, aren't I? Talking about a rooster, right? I don't know. What am I talking about? I got to find something else to say. Oh my God. But I didn't hear that about gun training by Odinists for terroristic purposes. Okay. Huh. Kohberger was banned from a bar in PA for harassing female patrons. He has boundary issues. Okay, now see, that is very good information to know. I don't know if I ever heard that or not. I am going to, I did want to show you this, though, because it is something that we don't know. It was reported widely in the beginning, but we don't know if it's confirmed or not. But it would definitely, it would definitely maybe help someone understand how he could have committed these things. Um, yes, CIA invented it. Let's go back. All right. I don't want to get too far behind with what you're doing. Y'all are so smart. Y'all are so smart. All right, let me go back to the media page and see if I can share something. Because this is okay. Remember when they said, and like I said, CJ knows way more about this because he's been covering it every day, pretty much every day for a year, over a year now. And I remember reading this, and I saw this come up again. But have you heard of this condition? Let me make sure that y'all can see this. Okay, let me move this around a little bit. Adjust this. Right. Now, that should be better, right? Okay. Yeah. Is that what y'all are saying? Yeah. Right. Okay. Now, this goes back to all the way to 2010 and 2011. Now, here's the thing. We don't know 100% if this was him. It's kind of like, if you follow this case, it's kind of like the inside looking and Papa Rogers, media profiles that they said were Bryan Kohberger. We don't know. But this one was picked up by a lot of mainstream media. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. You know how I feel about mainstream media. Okay, but it says University of Idaho suspect Bryan Kohberger allegedly posted in an online forum years ago that he had, quote, crazy thoughts and delusions of grandeur. Okay, well, there is a reason for this. There was, I'll kind of get this down for you because I know we've been going for a while. There was and I don't know if it's still in existence. I guess it's like a messaging board or so. I don't know. It's a website that was called Tappa Talk. Tappa Talk. I've never heard of it, but especially back then, it says between November 6th of 2009 and February 20th of 2012, while he was a teenager. Now, again, when you're a teenager, there's some kind of you have like scrambled eggs for brains. You really do. There's so much going on, and so you know. He allegedly made 118 posts to the forum under the username XR. And I'm going to read one of those to you because this is talking about like his condition. But reading some of the stuff that whoever wrote it, it's very heartbreaking. Okay. I'm about to lose my voice too. In January 2011, he allegedly wrote, I have had visual snow since September 21st of 2009. Since then, I have changed, mainly from the anxiety and sense of derealization and hopelessness. Now, this is an eye condition, okay? I read, I'm not going to go into the technical, but like there is a whole lot of, it basically makes you see things as if you were looking at a snowy TV. And if y'all are young, I mean, if you're, I'd say under 30, you probably don't even know what snow is. Because it used to be on the TV all the time. But before anything was digital and you had your antennas up beside the house, but even before cable, and you, if you didn't have that antenna set exactly right, you would get these little dots on your screen, and the the audio would be distorted. Good hiccups, and yeah, you'd have snow on the TV. It was terrible, terrible. I mean, we don't really have it so much now, but anyway, it's an eye condition that makes you see snow in front of everything. So obviously, when you have seen regularly up to that point, it causes a sense of derealization. In other words, it makes you feel like you're not like in the real world, right? There's a lot to it. Um, but it having anxiety and a sense of derealization is very, very common, and it gets even worse. uh, he wrote in May, if this is him, well, if allegedly, in 2011 he wrote that he has depression, no interest in activity, constant thoughts of unaliving himself, crazy thoughts, delusions of grandeur, anxiety, poor self image, poor social skills, no emotion. The post concluded, when I get home, I am mean to my family. This started when VS did. I felt no emotion, and along with the depersonalization, I can say and do whatever I want with little remorse. Now, here is the problem. Okay, first of all, I think it's true that he does have this. Again, I don't know. But then you're looking at mainstream media. Are they trying to just, put this on him? And are they saying that this XR person, is it true? Was that him? And, as what you think and how you feel as a teenager has nothing to do with where you're at the age he is. So you've got that going on. I hate to kind of bring this up because we don't know, but it has been reported everywhere. So, I mean, to look and take everything into consideration, we're going to look at it. Um, let's see. He says he's accepted his visual snow finally. This is in 2012. That he's come to terms with it. But now, okay, this is what they said. A person. I love it when they say a person and you don't even know. You can't even vet them. A person who knew Kohberger at the time of the post told ABC News he had seen the post and was extremely confident that they were Kohberger's, citing Kohberger's complaints at the time about his issues with visual snow syndrome, as well as a reference in the post to living in a house with mold problems. Okay, so you think similarly, and because that's the only house in the world that had mold problems. I mean, it could be him, it could be, but what if it's not? If you're just reading into this and it's not him, we don't know. So yeah, he was a criminology student. Now, because of, again, the visual disturbance, it causes a mental disturbance, and that is kind of across the board. When I looked up VS, that's what I saw over and over. Is it's not just, I mean, it's bad enough that you can't see good, but then it's the whole effect that it has. It makes you feel kind of like everything is surreal, like you're in a bubble, like you're in a video game, whatever, that you are not actually in your body living your life. That, y'all, is terrifying. Um, and so if that is true, it is also becomes a mental illness because of all of the effects that it has, right? Now, um, if you look down here, I don't know if you can see my mouse. Experts caution that people with mental illness are no more likely to be violent than anybody else. In fact, they are 10 times more likely to be the victim of a violent crime. But in this case, Kohberger is their main suspect. Now, let me go. Let me change this. Do I know what I'm doing here? Okay. Oh, I'm so far behind on your comments. Hold on. Let me see what you're saying. You're saying he adjusted. I mean, honestly, when you look at him in court and stuff like that, he does seem like, I guess he seems pretty normal the way he interacts with his attorney and stuff. But did you know, uh, oh God. But did you know that, we all knew that he was a vegetarian, and he was so, like, I thought, and this is where I made the mistake. I thought he was so OCD that he wouldn't eat off of a plate that had had meat on it before. And I'm like, cuckoo. But that wasn't it. It's because they say that being a vegetarian helps with the condition of visual snow. So that is why he was a strict vegetarian, because it was, he was desperate to get some relief and get some kind of, help with his visual snow. So now you take somebody where you want to profile somebody and say, oh, okay, well, look, they're so weird, they're so anal that they can't even eat off of a plate that's ever held meat on it. That sounds weird, right? It sounds like he's a lunatic. But then you find out there's a reason that he's a strict vegetarian, and there's a reason for this. Then you're like, oh. So again, you're backtracking and saying, well, maybe it's not what I thought. But I'm not going to stay much longer, but let me, because I want to go and see what you all have to say. Uh, Let me change this. I was going to read this one thing out, but I don't think I'm going to. What is this? Oh, I did get rid of that. Okay, look at there. Look at there. This is really so big. These are some excerpts from the XR account. And I'm just going to read like a little bit here and there of this one, because there's some other ones that are consolidated. But if you will look down, let's see. Well, he talks about, let's just start from the top. I've had this horrible depersonalization go on in my life for almost 2 years. I often find myself making simple human interactions, but it is if I am playing a role-playing games such as Oblivion. I can see what is going on. I am slightly into it, but I can pause the game and focus on my real life. In this case, my life is the game, and my old self can be reached by pausing the game. But how? I often think of things that humans do. That humans do? That's weird. Things that I have done my whole life. I feel like an organic sack of meat with no self-worth, as I am starting to view everyone as this. Um, that is alarming. Let's go back to this. And this is from 2011. I always feel as if I am not there, completely depersonalized. Mentally, I experience fog, lack of comprehension at some times, feel like my life is a movie, depression, no interest in activity, constant thought of unaliving myself, crazy thoughts, delusions of grandeur, anxiety, poor image, poor social skills, no emotion. I feel like nothing has a point to it. When I get home, I'm mean to my family. This started when VS did. And this is what the article had said. I felt no emotion, and along with the depersonalization, I can say and do whatever I want. Look, that is horrifying. Oh my gosh, what did I just do? I'm not sure what I did. I messed it up on my end. I hope I didn't mess it up on your end. All right. Um, let's see. And again, this is the year before in 2010. I have felt completely disconnected from reality. I feel all the time that I'm living in my own reality. It seems as if my brain chemistry is altered from this, even though I'm certain it's not. Now, you can tell he's a very intelligent person, writing this. It's not incoherent. Um, uninterested in the things that he usually liked to do, etc., etc. Um, you know, he talks about tinnitus, the ringing in the ears, and all this stuff. And this is I found interesting. If you look at the towards the bottom, it says I've had two medicines mixed. Uh, Depakote is what the first one is. Let me just say these are the ones you'll recognize: Depakote and Topamax with 16 extra strength Mucinex pills, and felt that this could have altered my brain. All right, let me go. Let me back up there or stop right there, because Depakote is an anti-seizure medicine, as is Topamax, but a lot of people take Topamax to prevent migraines. But it's also for bipolar disorder. Depakote can be used for that. Depakote does require you to have frequent blood work, because if your Depakote levels get off, especially if they go too high, you're and I don't know if he was on Depakote still when he was in Moscow or in Pullman, but definitely if your Depakote levels go too high and stuff like that, you can you can get a little crazy, you know, especially in a situation like this. And I mean, I don't know how his nutrition was, what else he was doing, who knows. Um, but I think that if he turns out to be guilty, okay, if they have the evidence or if he whatever, the depersonalization and feeling like you're in a video game, um, that could certainly have a bearing on, if he did that, did he really, like, did he really, he had to know, but did he really feel like he was doing something wrong? It makes me wonder. Um, let's see. Adjusted fate, talking about Delphi. Carroll County is a bunch of numbskulls who didn't have a clue how to investigate. Yeah, yeah. Um, let's see. Let's go down just a little bit before I'm going to let you go too, because a big work week. I know everybody wants to go to bed. Um, it's simple. BK is evil. Maybe, maybe. You do have to look at him and think, I don't know. He has that very intense stare. Um, could he be guilty? Yeah, he could be. I I don't have a problem with whether he's guilty or not. Okay, I want the truth to come out. I really do. What I have a problem with is the methods. Okay, I am not convinced that the DNA, the way that they did this, the way that they found him, is 100% legit. Okay, because there were some other very good suspects that were cleared way too early, in my opinion. Um, so if you read, I don't know, CJ and I did like oh my God, it was like a 3 hour, 4 hours. Uh, I streamed it to mine, but I was on his channel about the private driver. And I never really thought a whole lot about him, but when you read some of the things that he said in interviews, you're like, holy crap! I'm not sure you didn't have anything to do with it. So I mean, I don't know. Is he a good person? Even if he didn't do it, I don't know. There was the time, there's the whole incident with his sister where he got out of, where did he get out of? Somewhere. Was he in treatment or something? And he stole his sister's phone, um, took it to like the mall or whatever and got money for it and took the cash. Like, there are some sketchy things about him in his past. And it, like, someone said, if he was in trouble for harassing girls in Pennsylvania. Yeah. See, that's where you have the difference in Richard Allen, and there's a big disconnect there. Because yeah, Richard Allen had yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but no big red flags that we know about, that anybody knows about. So it's like, so he just did this one day. Um, BK does have a lot more, in my opinion, in his past or sketchy stuff than RA does. But uh, let's see. You're right, Carol. The look on his face during those traffic stops. It's true. He's got that intense stare. Um, but then, okay, playing devil's advocate, because y'all know that's what I do. Uh, if you have this visual disturbance, do you have to look more intensely to actually see or to make yourself pay attention? Like if you feel like you're in a video game and you've got all this, oh, excuse me, I don't know what that was. If you've got all this snowy stuff in your face, do you have to, like, what if you have to look and be intense to make it real, to make it to even see correctly? I don't know. Like, I don't know how bad it is. Should he be driving? I'm not sure. Uh, Let me see. I'm gonna try to catch up with some of the biggest things that you're saying. Um, Talking about Delphi, yeah, yeah. Okay. So, I mean, what do y'all think? Do you think that if he has this VS syndrome and stuff, do you think that explains his intense looks, or you think he'd just be looking like that? I don't know. Uh, okay. We all know that mainstream media tells the absolute truth. Yeah, right? Right. Um, okay. I'm probably, yeah, Megan, I'm gonna tell you that whole cold packet, and I didn't see what Carol said. The whole cold packet thing, it confuses me too. Yeah, I'm gonna go back and read all this. Um, okay, Carol says this is interesting. Kohberger was a big time dealer at one point, and I think that is the common denominator for this in this whole case. I have look. Now I didn't know he was a big time dealer. I knew he was. It's no secret he was a user. Again, something that is in his past that is not in Richard Allen's. Um, it the whole scene, potentially, like the brutality of it, has to make you wonder if there were substances involved or trafficking involved or somebody not even saying that it was going on there, but that house had been lived in by a bunch of people over time. What if somebody thought somebody else was there? Like, look, I don't want to. I don't want to say anything that would be hurtful to the families, but you have to consider the culture and the stuff that goes on, and you have to consider the fact that there were family members that had associations. And was it revenge? Are we looking at the same thing as we do with Derek German and Delphi? Or was it just they thought it was going to be somebody else, and then you're too late. You're there and somebody's getting taken out. I don't know. um Coal packet is a very interesting, like, that's a whole big interesting thing. Oh my gosh, look at y'all. I'm so far behind. All right. Um, yeah. So there we go. We've talked about Delphi, we've talked about Epstein, and we've talked about Kohberger tonight. So I'd love to hear y'all's opinions. You all are so smart. You're the best. You're the absolute best. And people are so, in general, unless we get a wild troll, people in general in this community are so respectful of people's opinions, even if you don't agree. Um, yeah, Linda Kay, he could be on the autism spectrum, I think. Yeah, I see. I've always thought that too. I thought in the very beginning, when I was covering this case and we knew nothing about Kohberger, I really thought that I had read that he was autistic, or they thought he was autistic or something. I have to go back and watch my own darn videos. Everything was coming out so quickly at that time. And then, like I said, I took that giant leap into the Delphi uh, hole. So anyway, I'm going to leave you for tonight. And thank you so much for being here. Tell me, what do you think about the sus cakes, the tea and sus cakes, the Southern Diner? I think it is so fun. Thank you at Evil CJ for